Just as global markets braced for another wave of economic upheaval, a quiet but decisive blow came, not from a politician, but from a courtroom in Manhattan. A little-known federal court just blocked one of the most aggressive tariff expansions in U.S. history, halting what Donald Trump had dubbed Liberation Day. With it, billions in global trade impacts, consumer price spikes, and diplomatic tensions were abruptly thrown into limbo. The U.S. Court of International Trade may not be a household name, but it holds exclusive jurisdiction over cases involving customs and international trade. On May 28, a three-judge panel unanimously ruled that Trump's tariff expansion, covering countries like China, Mexico, and Canada, violated statutory limits set by Congress. Key legal finding: the court rejected the Trump administration's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA, to justify broad tariffs. According to the judges, the administration failed to prove an economic emergency under the law's definition. Trade deficits, even long-standing ones, do not constitute a national emergency, the opinion stated. Who were the judges? In a twist that undermines claims of political bias, the panel included judges appointed by Presidents Reagan, Obama, and Trump. Trump has long touted tariffs as a cure-all for economic decline. On Liberation Day, he imposed 10% flat tariffs on nearly all imported goods, 11 to 50% retaliatory tariffs on nations with existing trade barriers, and sector-specific tariffs targeting steel, semiconductors, and agricultural products. These moves were meant to generate revenue and shift manufacturing back to U.S. soil. But according to the court, they overstepped executive power. Congress alone has the authority to levy tariffs, unless it has delegated such power through specific statutes, which the court ruled it had not done for these measures. Trump's tariffs were not just geopolitical theater. They were impacting ordinary Americans in measurable ways. Let's break it down with an example. Suppose you bought a washing machine imported from China that cost $800 before tariffs. Under Trump's tariff regime, a 25% import tariff would add $200. Retailers typically pass on 80 to 100% of this cost. New shelf price equals $1,000 or more. Multiply that across thousands of products, from smartphones to auto parts, and the average U.S. household was facing $1,200 in annual tariff-related costs, according to the Tax Foundation. Macro impact S&P 500 and NASDAQ futures spiked 1.5% immediately after the ruling. Global trade partners like Canada and the EU welcomed the news, hinting at resumed negotiations. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce issued a cautiously optimistic statement, calling the ruling a reset button for common-sense trade policy. Within minutes of the ruling, Trump allies like Stephen Miller took to social media, accusing the court of orchestrating a judicial coup. Before we dive deeper, if you're into this kind of breakdown, give the video a like, subscribe for more, and let me know your opinion in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Now, on with the video. The U.S. is not acting in isolation. Trade partners like Mexico, Canada, and China had retaliated with their own tariffs, sparking tit-for-tat trade wars. Example: Mexico had imposed a 20% retaliatory tariff on U.S. pork exports, hurting American farmers. Canada responded with aluminum and steel tariffs, leading to plant closures in U.S. Rust Belt states. Now that the U.S. tariffs are suspended, these retaliatory measures may also be rolled back. Global trade negotiations previously stalled may resume. Exporters may regain lost market access, potentially boosting U.S. GDP by 0.5 to 1% over the next year, according to early IMF estimates. As of now, billions have already been collected under the now halted tariffs. What happens to that money? Legal experts say foreign governments and U.S. importers may have a case to claim refunds for what are now deemed illegally collected tariffs. This could lead to class action suits by importers, diplomatic claims by foreign states, taxpayer exposure to billions in refund liabilities. This ruling isn't just about economics. It's a reaffirmation of checks and balances. By reining in executive overreach, the U.S. Court of International Trade has not only halted a controversial trade policy, but also sparked a wider reckoning on presidential powers. As the White House scrambles to appeal and markets recalibrate, one thing is clear: the age of unilateral tariff wars may be nearing its end. What to watch for next? Will the Federal Circuit stay the decision? Will the Supreme Court take the case? Will Congress reclaim its trade authority? In a global economy already balancing on the edge of volatility, this decision might be the pressure valve it desperately needed. Thanks for watching.